Get myself set. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to this week's Remind podcast. My name's David Masterton, and I'm with Dr. Ashleigh Moreland. And boy, this topic came up because we were just having a little chit-chat about how Ash and I do things. And normally we're on the same page. This time we're not, which really was quite exciting to sort of talk about how we both lean into how we do things. Sort of like from a how does the brain work, right? Because Ash is telling me how she likes to do things, and obviously it's around recording the podcast, and I'm there going, wow, that is very foreign to me. And then I'm sort of going, well, man, do this way. And I could just see Ash going, you're a freak. And so we thought we'll just talk about like the topic about how to work with your brain. And then we'll go into how to work with different types of brains, how I work with Ash's brain, how Ash works with my brain, and how doing things differently, whether it be at home, workplace, friends, whatever it is.
Yeah, especially parenting, honestly, because when you can accept, well, all of us as parents, if we can accept that our children are not just mini us, our children are unique and their brains will operate in their own unique way, and it's on us to explore how their brain operates and support them to thrive in their uniqueness, not put them into a little box and make them operate in our way of doing things, which is just the whole issue of society and the school system and everything in general, but we won't go there. This is going to be an awesome conversation.
Yeah.
Can I share how we got here?
Go for it.
So I like batching. And
yeah, you do.
Honestly, and I'm sitting here reflecting going, oh my gosh, this is everywhere in my life. Like I don't like cooking every day, and I find the idea of cooking something different every day so overwhelming. But instead, I would rather cook for 5 to 6 hours in one day in batches and freeze it, and then we can get the variety from the frozen batch, right? Or I would rather, I was using the example of creating content for social media. If I'm responsible for creating content for our Remind social media, I will sit down and batch create. I'll go, okay, carousels. I'll batch create 3 months worth of carousel content all at once. And then I'll go, okay, reels. I'll batch create 3 months of reel content all at once. I'll go, okay, now we're doing static posts, and I'll batch create the static posts. And that's how I prefer to operate, because it's like my brain goes into that mode, that gear, and I can just churn it out. I can go boom, 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 and it feels efficient. I'm thinking it's the same way of thinking. It's a streamlined process. I just have to replicate it. Whereas I learned that my team operate really differently, where they're like, I will do week 23's content, which includes carousels, static posts, reels, stories, all the things. And I literally, even just saying that, can feel the stress in my body. What do you mean? You have to take your brain out of carousel mode and into reels and into this and into video editing and into creating that. And then you have to do that on repeat every week? That sounds horrific. And I'm even thinking, I batch clean my house. I've never been the person who can do the floors on Monday and do the windows on Tuesday and the bathrooms. I can't be that person.
Wow.
I can't be the person who just pays the invoices when they come. I have to have the time I set aside where I batch pay all the invoices. Like, that's how I operate.
Ashleigh Batcher Moreland.
Yeah, not bachelor, but Ashleigh Batcher. Yes. And so how this came up was David and I have been mapping out our podcasts, because obviously, if you weren't aware, since episode 100, we have changed it up. We've got some new themes and some new recording formats. We've got our Am I the A-hole series. We've got the What Would You Do? We've got our top tips, our number one things. And so I have a spreadsheet
Color
And
coded.
guess what?
For those
It's
playing at home,
color-coded.
yes, it is color coded.
It's
So it's
color-coded.
very soothing for
And
Ash.
there's columns for the episode number and the release date and the episode title and when we're going to record it and
Yep.
the pillar it fits into and all this sort of stuff, right? And David and I get on to record and I'm like, Dave, I want to batch record. Let's record 3 episodes of Am I the Arsehole today? And David's like, yeah, but that's not coming out till July. And I'm like, yeah, but we're doing a batch. And Dave's like, but why can't you just have that conversation and then come and have that? I'm like,
Yeah,
because
well-
I have to take my whole entire operating system out of my head,
Yeah.
import another one to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Okay. And this is where we learn how neurodivergent Ash is in her own total flavor of like, I have relied on systems and processes to be successful in my life. And without systems and processes, my whole world falls apart.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And look, and that's what I love about all of this. I think, you know, I might be laughing and I might be downplaying everything and all of that. It's coming from love and it's just coming from enjoyment and all of that.
But
also
how
know,
we've known each other and that you haven't known this about me.
well, I've kind of known it, but it just
It's like
it
things
just
make
it
so
always-
much more sense now.
No, it just goes to a whole new level. I just sort of get the level tends to creep up, and I'm going, oh, we're here. Oh, we're here. Oh, we're here now. Wow. So, and to be quite honest, the podcast up until now has been more of a Dave style,
Yeah, we show
It's a-
up and go, what do you want to talk about?
right? Guess what I'm having for dinner tonight? Ash, just guess. Just guess.
Pasta.
Don't know. I'll know at 5 o'clock when I walk into the store. And guess what I'm having tomorrow night for dinner? Just
Guess what I'm having tonight, Dave? I bought a big chunk of eye fillet
Oh,
and I'm going to sear it in the pan
nice.
and then I'm going to stick it in my oven at 180 degrees until the internal temperature is exactly 54 degrees.
Yep.
And then I'm
Fantastic.
going to let it rest for 10 minutes and then I'm going to finely slice it and it's going to be rare roast beef, the most tender melt in your
Yeah,
mouth
love
food
that.
ever. I already know exactly what I'm doing. I know what time
Yep.
I'm putting it on. I know what the oven settings need to be. That's what's happening.
Yep. And my kids ask me every day, what are we having for dinner? And it's all like, well, I'll find out when we walk into the shops. and I'm one of those people that shops
that's so
every day.
stressful.
Every day. I shop every day. Just a little bit every day.
Yeah, no.
And it's sort of like, what do I feel like? It's sort of like when nothing's certain, everything's possible. And so that's kind of what, so the style of the podcast has been just show up, talk about what's been going on. But now we're starting to become a little bit more intentional, put some structure around it. And that's probably allowed Ash to unleash the structure and the processes and things like that. So when I sort of I walk into the structure and processes, I go, oh okay, what was
Because it's change, right?
it has. Well, yeah. And,
So I like certainty equals safety to the nervous system. And so I look at this and go, okay, we're completely changing the way that we're doing the podcast. Let me create some certainty with color coding and columns.
Mhm. And for me, I see opportunity in chaos every day. You know, the sort of let's flow. It's exciting. It's
Yeah.
all of that. And so the cool thing is that, you know, it took us a while, like me, you, to kind of figure out what works, because you've probably been shown how to do things a certain way. And so, like for me, if I was in a workplace where it's sort of like, okay, this is how we do things. We batch everything for the next 3 months. I'll be there going, oh, ow. And then
Right.
like, and for Ash, it's sort of like, she comes into a workplace and it's sort of like, all you need to do is make sure all the targets for the next week are done.
Yes.
And then that means you're going to go from this to this to this to this to this to this to this, but at least you have the certainty that from Monday to Friday, all of that is scheduled for next
It's
week.
done. Yeah.
And then I'm sure that'd be really grinding for you.
Well, I would still find a way to batch it though. And this is the
okay.
thing, right? Because I was a university lecturer for 12 years. And obviously we had stuff that had to be done on a weekly basis. We had different classes, different stuff, but I would still batch create. I would have the whole semester done before the semester started because
Right.
I like to know what was coming. But this is the beautiful thing, and I love that you raised this in business. As part of my leadership journey, and we spoke about this last week, I've had to learn that not everyone operates like me. And this is one of my gifts, I think, and my son has taught me this, is that one of my skills is being able to know how my brain works and to leverage that for success. But then I also know how to kind of like withdraw that from others and expose what works for them and equip and empower them to work in a way where they are set up for success. And so for my team, I don't micromanage them. I don't even know what content is coming out for Remind until I literally see it on my feed and go, oh my gosh, that hit me in the stomach. I needed to read that today. Because I don't know how they work. I don't know how they're operating. All I know is that the content is going out. This is the schedule, and they report on it. That's it. I don't need to know the ins and outs of the how they schedule their week, when they're doing what. If the KPIs are being met, go your hardest. Be creative, be innovative, structure, do it at 2:00 in the morning if that's when you come alive. I don't care. But you need to know, you're responsible for knowing how you're set up for success. And then I feel as a business owner and as a leader, it's my responsibility to be able to create the opportunity for people to work in a way where they can thrive. And so for them to be like, Ash, you're micromanaging, controlling structure stuff, you're batching, nah, don't you dare make me work like that. And if you do, I'm leaving.
Yep. 100%.
But we never have that conversation because we don't need to, because they work in the way that they can thrive.
So this is going to sound off topic, but just follow me for a moment. You know, the 5 love languages, right?
Yes.
Okay, what's the most important thing about the 5 love languages? It's knowing what yours is. Number one.
Oh, yeah, okay.
It's about knowing what is for you, because if you don't know how to feel loved, like in what language, how you're supposed to know, like how is anyone else supposed to know? Then the next part is for your partner, or, you know, what is their love language? Apply that to the brain. Imagine if there was a love language for you, you know, or a learning or a doing language, you know, the 5 doing languages of the brain, right? To know yours first, like you and I, and then to go, okay, well, if I know mine and what sort of feels settling and right to me, and for those not watching, the bunny ears going up, to then know what's settling and right for someone else could be 2 different ways of doing it, as opposed to your way's right, their way's wrong. And so if you have that sort of love language or brain love language or doing language, it is so relevant, because then you know how to work with those people. So it doesn't need to be completely detached. It could be like, okay, if Ash is feeling overwhelmed, I could sort of send her something in a spreadsheet.
Make sure it's color coded.
Well, I would suggest some color coding that then you could just then put in, because I know you love the color coding to actually code it yourself. It's like that sort of soothing.
And it's so obvious that I'm a visual person, right? Like I need visual cues. That sets me up for success. If I had the exact same information, but I didn't have something, you should see my damn Outlook calendar, dude. I can see at a glance, even without looking at the details, I can see at a glance and know exactly where I have to be, what's happening. You know, is it kids? Is it meetings? Is it work? Is it exercise? I can just see from a glance the time blocking in my calendar, because I'm a visual person and I use color. Color is like my superpower.
Yeah, and that's...
So again, working with your brain, whereas other people might look at that and feel overwhelmed and go, how do you work like this? How do you look at that every day?
Yeah, or it's sort of like myself, right? It'll be, if I was batching all the time, it wouldn't be a sense of overwhelm. It'd be a sense of boredom and stagnancy.
Really?
Yes. Even though I'm getting the work done, because for me, it's variety. So how would you pump my tires, right? Is to throw something spontaneous in a work day.
Yeah.
If I was feeling flat.
Yeah.
And so it's then, and this is where it's sort of like, I don't know if anyone's written a book about like the 5 love languages of the brain or the doing, but to me it's sort of like take
I'll
that.
write it.
There you go, Ash. Like, could you imagine that, right?
Yeah.
And then suddenly you can apply it to raising kids, interacting with people, working with different people, and then sort of going, well, for someone who their love language is acts of service, physical touch may not be a big thing for them.
Yeah.
But for someone whose love language, and I'll put my hand up, is physical touch, right? Words of affirmation is not as strong.
Yeah.
But it's sort of like once you know yours, then you sort of say, well, this is, if you want to love me or know me or whatever it is, in this case with the brain, if you want to know me, then know that this is how my brain works. But to first be able to have that conversation, you must know.
Yes.
And you must.
So relevant. And it's super important to understand how this play, like this is relevant to everything. It's relevant to workplaces, obviously, but it's also relevant in relationships. If two people in a relationship, and when do you find this stuff out? You find it out, big leap, you find out when you move in together that your operating system is different.
Yeah, or you see a big, bright, colourful spreadsheet.
One person will wash the dishes as they go. The other person will leave all the dishes until there's no more clean dishes to use, and then they'll batch wash the damn dishes. Another person will just do the washing as there's a load to do. Another person will wait for Mount Washmore to build up and then do all the washing. So people have different operating systems that they download and bring into the home. And when they clash, that can cause resentment and friction. Another thing is in parenting, a parent will try and unconsciously, without even realizing, impose their operating system onto their children without ever giving the children the opportunity to learn and evolve with their uniquely wired operating system and then help them to use that to their advantage. So, whether it's things like my son's operating system is he likes to do things straight away. Like he'd rather just get the boring stuff over and done with so then he can chill.
Yeah.
And my daughter's operating system is completely opposite. Getting her to do the serious stuff straight away is forget about it. She would prefer to enjoy things first. Let's say when we come home from school, she wants to play. She wants to, and she will dick around. And in my head, I'm like, dude, just get the stuff done and then you got unlimited time. But she's like, nah, I don't want to do that until right before I go to bed or, later. And their operating systems are different. So learning how to have grace, how to interpret the operating systems and understand what's actually going on, but then learning how to have grace so that you can go, oh, they're not being malicious. This is their operating system and this is how they work. And they will get the thing done. It's just not going to be in my way and the way I like it. And that's actually my stuff to process.
When you were talking, it got me back to this food thing, right? Which is, I heard someone say this and I looked at it and I sort of went, oh. And it's like there's two ways, and this is oversimplifying. Don't catch me in the grey area. Just, it's oversimplifying. There's two ways to eat a meal. You eat the worst of the stuff to the best. Right? And so the theory is the food's always going to get better, or you eat the best to the worst because what you're eating on your plate is the best that's left on the plate. Right? So you can imagine
different operating systems. My kids and I have this conversation all the time. My husband's very much you leave the best till last. So just smash your veggies, get all that stuff in, get it done so then you can enjoy it. Whereas my son will go absolutely all in on the stuff that he loves the most and then he'll chip away at the other stuff.
Yep.
Different operating systems.
But how cool is it that you can then sort of go, there's no right way, but then when you can sort of explore these things and then you can start to understand and be aware of yourself and others, then suddenly they're not doing it because they're trying to annoy you. They're not doing it because, they're trying to make life harder for you or things like that. They're doing things because that's their natural way of doing it.
Yeah. And I want to touch on that because sometimes there are some things that are learned behaviors, like there are learned things. Whereas there are some things that are just naturally inherent to you as an individual.
Oh.
And I think when we're really big on nurturing the uniqueness of us as individuals, and my husband learning about my brain's unique operating system, that has opened up so much grace and understanding in our marriage, because it's not me being malicious or petty or unrealistic when I'm trying to get my needs met. It's helping him to understand this is my operating system and this is how you can work with me to set me up for success. And then it's on me to go, well, let me understand your operating system and how can I work with you to set you up for success. And when two people are committed to setting the other person up for success, then you have a healthy relationship.
Oh, hell yeah.
Same as in parenting.
Yeah.
When a parent is committed to setting their child up for success rather than forcing them to comply, and more committed to having a compliant child who operates under their own parenting operating system, then that child is set up for success. Their nervous system is regulated, and a lot of those dysfunctional behaviors and survival responses start to dissipate.
And I'm thinking about workplace as well, because this is very specific when it comes to SOPs, right?
Yes.
Because SOPs is written from a structure which someone's written. Someone. And that someone has an operating system that sort of does this. Now, sometimes the SOP cannot change for regulatory reasons or things like that. But outside of that, if you've got a new hire or someone who's taken on a new position, or there's a new responsibility that includes doing something that is a process, and that person's having difficulty doing it, and they have to follow the SOP, then just sort of know that either if the SOP can't change, the person is either going to have to deal with that and force their way through it, or there's an opportunity to sort of say, okay, here's the outcome that is needed. Show me how you would do it in a way that feels better for you.
Exactly. KPI driven. Yes.
And then if there's the ability to change it and they're still getting the same outcome with the same checks and with, there's no compromising the overall checkpoints of the SOP, then now you can have two ways to do it.
Absolutely. And in my experience, so this is another really nuanced leadership thing where people think they have to SOP the process. But generally speaking, the process is creative and the process will be unique to the person who's doing it. So for instance, let's go back to the creating social media content, right? What needs to be SOP'd is the things like, this is where you go to access the folder in Canva. These are our brand hex codes. These are our brand fonts. This is the tone. And like that stuff needs to be SOP'd. And then you go, and then on the Monday of every week, this needs to be all drafted in our social media scheduler. And like, that's the stuff that it doesn't matter. The process of how you get to that point is the creative side, but that's the technical, logical, linear stuff that, and it's the know-how to do that. Go here, click that, press that, do that, post that, right? Whereas what can't be SOP'd is the process. So the process might be you sit in your ponder chair and meditate and allow the content to just download into your psyche, and then you sit there and speak it out loud into your voice recorder. Well, that could be one person's process, and then they take that content and they go to the folder in Canva, they click here, they type there, they download it there, and they upload it there, and then it's done. Whereas another person's process might be they're going to go to ChatGPT and they're going to type in a prompt and they're going to copy and paste that and go to the folder in Canva, paste it there, download it there, post it there, and it's done. And so when we talk about, so innovation is a really big value in our business, but when we talk about innovation, it's including at that process level where it's us being able to go, okay, this is the steps that need to happen, but how I arrive at that step, I want to draw out the expertise, the uniqueness, that intuitive way of work the way that works best for you.
Yeah.
And I think that is where a lot of businesses get it wrong in SOPs. Like, they will literally try an SOP. This is the script you use, and this is how you do it, and this is what you write, and this is how you get there.
Click this button, go to this thing.
Well, see, the clicking the buttons thing is important. But it's more the anything that is a creative process in a business cannot or should not be SOP.
If you're good, sort of, for example, open the file versus go to this program, double click on the icon, click on this button, open, that's if the SOP is prescribed in that manner, like step by step, it's actually not important. Clicking, telling them what to click, if it's like a generalized thing, like go to Canva and things like that, that is sort of something that I would say is important, not the micro steps.
I disagree on that, only because I have had a lot of people in my space who are technologically challenged. Yes, yep. Thank you. And so literally they wouldn't even know how to go into OneDrive and open a document, for instance. So having that micro level of, with arrows going, to get in there, you go here and you click that thing and you do this thing. So that
would you call that a training document or an SOP though? Well,
that is an SOP of how you be able to arrive at the thing. So training documents and SOPs are going to interrelate, but it's more the creative processes around it. So thinking about how does that person's brain work, and how does I'm imagining a train, like, what's the path that train takes? Because as long as the train stops at the same stations, we're good. The stations are those little checkpoints, the KPIs. Yes. That job's done, that job's done, that job's done, that job's done. But the path, the route you can take to get there, how you arrive at that station, we cannot micromanage that. And that comes down to that uniqueness and that person's individuality, because how you arrive at that station is going to be unique to you.
Well, let's replace trains with a cruise ship with the same ports.
With the ports.
Yeah, because otherwise you got train tracks. There's no creative flexibility there. You're just following your nose.
Oh, sure. Now, okay, your analogy is better.
A cruise liner. Oh, stop it.
But I think that's a really important point. Yeah. Other ways we can work with our brain is things like, I know for me that if I get anything that requires a lot of mental load, I can do more between the hours of 5 a.m. and 8 a.m. than what I can between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. So, for instance, if I was working in those early hours of the morning, I can have 7 tabs open, clicking between them all. I can move quickly. I can hold lots of information in my brain, and I can just go. Whereas if I had to do the exact same tasks later in the day, I would struggle even having 2 tabs open, and I would be distracted, and that's like ADHD gets worse kind of throughout the day.
Gotcha.
But I work with my brain and I structure my day in such a way that I know how to support that.
Well, I'm the opposite. Get me out of bed at 5 o'clock in the morning. There better be a bloody good reason.
Exactly.
And it's not to power through work, unless I have a deadline at 5:30. Then that might happen.
Yeah, exactly. And I have probably fought this a lot of the time. And I think there's a lot of well-meaning advice out there that generally can be helpful for a certain brain neurotype, but isn't often helpful for others. And I'll give you an example. I've been navigating my own health journey, and just in forgetting, context for this, I studied this at uni in my early life.
Gotcha.
And so I have always approached this based off what I was taught at uni and general behavior change stuff. But when I actually started going, but all research actually has some outliers. And just because the research says this is what you should do, and just because that's the best approach for this, maybe it's not the best approach for me. And so I'm going to try some different things.
Yeah.
And so I've tried some different things and it has been so helpful. And so my compliance has been better. I'll give you, this is so stupid, silly example, but in my health journey previously, I've known that there's been some supplements that would really help me. It would help with my gut. It would help with some hormone production.
Nice.
But I'm someone who doesn't particularly like things on the bench. And so my operating system was always, no, I like a clear bench because that gives me clear thoughts and I feel organized.
Yep.
But what it meant is if I put the stuff away, out of sight, out of mind, I would forget to take it.
Gotcha.
And I could not be successful. And so in my operating system now I'm going, okay, well that didn't work for me. And I know because I tried it for 34 years, didn't work for me.
Yeah.
Let's try something different. And so I just lined up my supplements along the windowsill in my kitchen. So literally I wake up in the morning, I walk out, it's the first thing I see. And I haven't missed a single supplement, not once.
Yeah, good on you.
And so going, okay, this is new for me. It's a different approach. I've had to change my operating system and my way of thinking about this, but I've done that across the board with food, with exercise, with everything. And my compliance has been phenomenal because I'm actually setting myself up for success based on my unique patterns of behavior and, I guess, needs, working with my brain.
100%. And you can apply that even to like myself and going to the gym. Like what do I specifically need? And it's just to have someone that keeps me accountable going to the gym, like having a PT. It's not necessarily to show me everything. It's to give me the confidence that I'm allowed to take up space in the gym. Because it's been like all these other people know what they're doing and all of that. And I don't want to annoy anyone or anything like that. But being able to know, okay, literally that's what I need. Well, that's how I go and get it, because how else am I going to find confidence? I'll find confidence by being with someone. For me, it's a PT. For others, it might be a friend that sort of knows it.
But that will change as well, and that can adapt.
100%.
So as you move through the seasons, your unique needs will change, and there will come a time where you reassess and go, I actually already feel calm. I don't need them. I'm in a rhythm. I'm looking forward to going. I don't need that accountability of having someone to, be there at a certain time.
100%.
And I think that's a really cool thing.
I love you said that, because it always moves. So it comes back to knowing where you are.
And that's the idea. We talk a lot in all of our programs with Remind about responsive living. And our parenting course is literally called Responsive Parenting, because being responsive means that we are constantly assessing the situation and responding to what is in front of us at the time. And you could have two parallel universes where the circumstance is the same, but the context around it is different. And you would respond to the circumstance differently because of the context. And so being able to, first of all, recognize your needs and know what they are, then know how can I meet these needs and actually respond consciously because we're equipped and empowered. We've got options and we know what we need and how to meet them. Well, then that life is just so much easier.
Yeah.
So
as opposed to reactive. Responsive. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Interesting times. Yeah. So who knows what's going to happen in our podcast planning adventure, but
only a couple of colours changed when we were talking about it. Not too many. Not too many colours.
And also, with that changing thing, yes, I have systems and processes, and yes, I like structure, but something that I have had to do a lot of work on in my adult life, because that used to be very rigid. In my early life, like my teens and my early 20s, in particular before I became a mum, because kids just teach you how to throw every plan in the bin. But And then I was suffocated with anxiety because my previous systems and processes for surviving life weren't functional anymore.
Oh, yeah.
But in my early life, when it was just me, I was extremely rigid and things needed to go exactly according to my plan. I did not realize that I was probably on the spectrum or had raging ADHD at this time.
Yeah.
But I needed things to be rigid because without that, I couldn't cope. And I think where I've really had to do work, particularly in the last 6 years, has been in learning that I can set myself up for success and I can have my preferred processes and systems, but I also feel safe enough to be fluid and adaptable with those systems. So now change or interruption to that or interruption's probably the best word that comes to mind, doesn't feel anxiety inducing. It's just kind of like, okay, well, I can move this stuff. Like we can move this around.
Yeah, absolutely.
What would that look like?
Yeah.
And then once, like we can play around with that. But for that scenario to play out 5 years ago or, 10 years ago, even worse, I would have completely shut down, probably would have like started crying, like would have been a complete train wreck. So it's something you have to work towards to go, you can know your unique way of operating, but when you're navigating the dynamics with others, especially with others who have a different way of operating, sometimes there's that level of negotiation, that level of adaptability, and that is going to be responsive too. Because there might be some times where Dave rocks up and he's like, yeah, I can do 3 back-to-back episodes of Am I the Asshole today? But then there might be times where he's like, if I have to do all the same thing today, I'm going to shoot myself. It's boring. Can we please mix it up?
Yeah, 100%.
So
but
it's
and
just
I think
a bit of give and take.
Yeah, and what you were sort of saying is like, before I'd look at it as someone give me a spreadsheet, I'm like, this is prison. Don't you dare limit me. And it's then you're sort of going, okay, well, it's actually, feel that response in the body. Okay, no, they're not doing that to do that. They're not actively, and so it's having that sort of compassion, sort of go, well, if you're so flexible, David, then yes, it's been kind of planned out. Try and find the spontaneity in all of that.
Yeah, and take it as a suggestion rather than as the gospel.
Yes, and it's not a personal attack on you. It's just how someone's coming at it in their preferred nature. And if you can communicate, then you can really work well with your brain and other people's brains.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so powerful, isn't it? And the other thing as well is when just like love languages, I love that you raised that. When someone else knows me enough to know my systems and processes, and even if it's not native to them, they will try to understand me and make things accessible for me through those systems and processes. I feel so seen and heard and valued.
Yeah.
And, that for me is so important because it means that we can contribute to others in all the contexts of our lives in feeling seen, heard, and valued. And it also means that we can have some grace. Like just because we keep going back to the dishes in the sink example, but it's just so... is so good, is that if my husband were to come and do this thing that defies my operating system, if I can understand his operating system, all of a sudden it's just my husband operating in his operating system. It's not a personal attack. It's not malicious. It's not something that I have to feel resentful over. It's a negotiation. And a really silly one for us is... I used to prefer to leave, I don't even remember how it went. You know those Dishmatic things? You put the dishwashing liquid in? Yeah. So I think I used to leave it in the sink because it was wet. And so I would sit it, so the head of it was sitting in the sinkhole.
Yep.
Whereas that was really triggering for my husband. he felt like it was incomplete because he wanted the whole thing to be, sorted out. And so he likes it put away. Different operating systems. And there was a version of me who would need it done my way because I would feel like if it wasn't in my operating system, then it was threatening and I would get triggered by that. But it allows me to kind of go, okay, so that's his operating system. Can I negotiate this? Is there room for this? If it doesn't really matter, can I let this go? And the answer is, you know what? The sun's still going to come up tomorrow. The world's going to keep spinning. Where would you like the dish thing? Let's put it there.
And also, I guarantee your husband, if you have a conversation, to sort of say, how important is this to you on a, and then just figure out,
That's it.
I'm
there's
sure
some things that are irrationally important to your partner
still
that
important.
Are not important to you.
Yeah, rationally or irrationally, still
loving
important.
them well is just being able to go, wow, I can see that's really important to you. And because you're important to me, I'm going to honor your operating system.
Yeah. And it's
likewise.
give and take. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love this.
This has been an awesome chat.
What a great episode. All started with a colourful spreadsheet.
Yeah.
So
Love it.
Well,
awesome.
I hope this is a great episode. Let us know. Yeah. Are you a spreadsheet lover or a spontaneity lover?
Yeah.
No one is better. They are just both different.
That's
it. And let us know if you've come across any scenarios that you might want us to have a think about.
And we'll batch create them.
Absolutely.
Give us a few.
We're going to do the next 3 months next week. So,
and guys, this whole interpretation of someone else's operating system and being responsive in life and being able to have that give and take in relationship. This is all the stuff that we cover in all the different contexts, whether it's leadership development, relationship development, supporting you in your parenting. We teach you how to understand and interpret the operating system of others and yourself and set yourself and others up for success, for healthier everything.
Yeah.
Healthier living.
Yeah. And just creating that awareness. Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Till next week. We'll batch you later.
Well played.